happened?
I started my career as a designer.
There's one challenge that every designer faces, that one last minute change.
So this happens typically when you don't really understand the client, what they want.
How working with Aman was like?
Aman was like,
Should we start? So hi Aditi, how are you?
I am very good, how are you?
Good, yeah. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for coming. It's been pleasure having you here. You know that
so much.
it's a new venture. We have started Hike Like very recently, and we are going to launch, us very soon. And we are looking for people like you who have been mentor for a lot of people, like you through the career. And now you are here sharing all the wisdom, all the insights that you already have through your career, your journey. You have been a freelancer. You have been somebody who have been employed. Now you are working on your own, and I'm sure it has been an incredible journey. But I would love you to share all the insights, everything that you have learned so far with our audience today.
So I started my career as a designer in the year 2007. No, actually 2008. And so at that time, graphic design courses like BDS and MDS, they were not very popular. So that's the precise reason I'm more of a self-taught designer, and whatever I've learned through my experiences. So at that time, I started working with a few agencies. For the first 1 or 2 years, I worked with very small agencies. At that time, I actually got some hands-on on designing, and I learned what graphic designing is, and that's where I actually built the passion for design. I almost worked without any salary during that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So after that, I got a chance to work with Bose, which at that time was very new into the market as a premium audio segment. And during those 2 years, I actually learned to work in a team environment, how to work on product launches, how to work with an audio company. And Bose as a brand has actually taught me a lot to, how do you position yourself as a brand as a premium segment. After that, I switched to more brands wherein I worked more towards IT segment and IT sector and IT engineering companies. So that was more of a, a very corporate kind of a culture that I'd worked with. And these basically companies, they were like Aricent and Quattro. So they taught me a lot about how to be a better professional. So they really helped me polishing my soft skills. I can't really say about the design skills, but yes, the soft skills were like very much polished, and I actually got to know that, how to be a team player, how to talk to the stakeholders as a designer, how to coordinate, how to manage a team. So after that, I got a chance to work with Boat. And so initially I started working as a freelancer for Aman.
Okay.
So before he ventured into Boat, he was trying to experiment with a few brands. And during that time, I helped him as a freelancer. For the first 1 or 2 years, I was working with him as a freelancer. But then we thought of, maybe taking it full time. And that was the time in 2018 when I started working with them full time. At that time, it was a team of almost like 10 people. And after that, like I almost spent 6 years over there as a creative head or design head. And now for the past 6 months, I've like kind of started my own agency, and finally settled into a, business kind of a mode. Yeah, so that's my career journey and how it has been.
I think your whole journey actually is very inspiring for graphic designers, because a lot of time when we hear a profession like graphic designing, we don't know the ladder of it.
Yeah.
So I just want to know that what do you think a journey of a graphic designer in this setup looks like?
See, to be very honest, there's no concrete ladder here for a designer, or from a design perspective. If I tell you, everybody has their own journey. So for typically a designer, these days it's quite different from what used to happen in our times 10 years, 15 years back. So at that time, I started as a designer directly straightforward. I didn't have a clue that, there are, maybe I could undergo a BDS course or an MDS course and then get into design. But then nowadays things are very different. People do internships, they do multiple internships to learn design and how things work in an industry perspective. So there are positions like a designer, senior designer, or then it comes like, creative lead, creative manager, then art directors. So these are all agency models. This is how, the positions work in an agency setup or a brand setup also sometimes.
Okay.
So for me, I would say I wanted to explore everything. I'm an explorer. So for me, it was more like, firstly, I wanted to learn design. So I worked with agencies. I wanted to know how brands work, how, different brands would want to get their designs done. So that was a learning period for me. And then I worked for a brand, and over there I learned how do brands work, how do they think, how the guidelines work, how the design guidelines are being worked upon. So then I also wanted to work for corporates just to know that, how a corporate culture can be. So, I mean, I had tasted everything from, design perspective. And I feel that somewhere it has been very, very enriching. And, this journey has been wonderful.
Okay, so while I'm listening to you, I can actually draw a graph of your career, and it seems like if somebody wants to really learn on the ground, execute things, agency is one thing that you can go for. Then if you really want to work for a system, if you want to learn a system, how organization works, I think corporates are a best place to be. And then eventually, if you want growth, if you want something, which is like close to your heart, then brands can be one thing. And if you have done everything after that, then you can have a business of your own. One thing that I would like to know, that how both happened.
So in 2010, I guess, 2010, I was quite well settled with my job in Arisent, and I was quite happy with my work. It was a very corporate, comfortable job, very good work-life balance. And but then design-wise, I was not very satisfied. And you will never be in a corporate, because they work on a very concrete kind of guidelines, and they would not want you to explore creatively. So that was my situation at that time. But then still I was okay, because at that time I just kind of conceived, and I had my daughter with me, and I wanted that work-life balance. But then me and Aman, we met through a common friend. He basically asked me to create some ideas for his upcoming brand for the packaging. So at that time Aman was like, I can't pay you that much. You have to, reduce it to 50% maybe. I said, okay, then I'll reduce it. But do you think this brand will work? And he was like, yeah, of course it'll work. Don't worry. We'll do something together. But I was like, no, you see, Aman, you really need to pay me in advance, because I don't trust. So he's like, yeah, don't worry, I'll pay you in full, but please do something nice, do something, do some magic. So he used to say that, Aditi, you're my magician. I know if I give you something to work on, you'll do some magic around it. So for the past 1 or 2 years, we worked on some ideas for the packaging for his other brands. Those were again audio brands itself.
It was before
he thought of launching Boat.
Okay.
So for like 2-3 years, I was working with him on freelance basis, and we made a very good connection from like a client and a designer kind of a perspective.
And you were working full time?
I was working full time with Arisent.
Along with that, you started freelancing with Aman.
That was a side income sort of a thing for me.
Awesome.
So after that, for like 1 or 2 years, we kind of lost touch, and then he had his own team working for him, but then he was not satisfied with the kind of quality that he was getting.
Okay.
So in 2018, he was like, Aditi, I really need you back and I want you full time. I was like, Aman, I cannot leave my job. This is like a full-time job I'm doing, and this is a very good work-life balance that I'm getting. I am a mother and I need that kind of a balance. Then he's like, see, whatever you're getting, I'll give you, but please join me. So at that time, I joined him on a condition that he will not ask me to come to office at 9 o'clock and ask me to leave at 6. So I can't do 9 to 6, and then he agreed. So he's a very humble guy, and then he's like, no, I'll give you whatever you want, but please do this for me. Please, let's work together. Let's do something big. So I was like, Aman, do you think we'll be able to survive like this? We are like team of 10 people and you're sitting in socials, and what kind of a life is this? I'm coming from a corporate. How can you expect me to sit in socials and work here? It's such a dark, dingy environment. I cannot work like that. And then he was like, see, this is our culture. This is our DNA. This is how we are. You'll get used to it. Just join and just start working here. You'll enjoy it. Trust me. We'll do a lot of parties. We'll do this, that, and we'll enjoy. And I think that was kind of very true. We got within 6 months of joining Boat, I actually got addicted to that kind of a workplace, a work environment, wherein we are having fun, we are working, we're partying at the same time.
So side hustle actually paid off.
Side hustle paid off. It was I think I don't regret joining that brand, and it has helped me grow a lot as a professional also.
Since you have just touched upon a base on the working culture, and you were working in a corporate before, so what was the difference? Like, if you can share in detail that how...
Massive difference. I mean, when you talk about corporates, they come with very concrete kind of processes in place. They have, a very streamlined approval process in place. They have guidelines in place. But then when I joined Boat at that time, there were no guidelines. Aman was like, do whatever you want to do. You're free to be creative as much as you can. There was no guideline for a color, what kind of color you want to go with. So there was it was very later in time when we choose to go with black and red kind of colors and make a concrete guideline around it. Before that, there was no guideline.
And you were the one who built the guideline?
Yes, I was a part of it, although the guidelines were being created by an agency. But yes, from corporate and from brand perspective, there's a stark difference between the two. You'll get all the comforts of, especially, it's very stupid to say, but then you really have got white lights to work on in corporates.
And then in startup it is...
I started working under those dingy dark lights. It was a very big difference, but yes.
So you joined Boat when it was a team of 10, right? So, and you worked in a corporate. So when you shifted to a startup with 10 and then it eventually grew, now how many... I don't know exactly the strength of Boat now.
There were like more than 200 people.
In an office setup.
In the office setup.
Right? So what do you think? What's the difference when you're working in 10 and then in 200?
See, the DNA, of course, that's something that can't be changed to an extent. The DNA will always be the same. I think there's still there's a DNA of there's a hustle kind of a DNA in Boat. Whatever you're doing, you're hustling, and then you're also doing some kind of quirky things side by side. There are a lot of things happening, and there's a very systematic chaos that's happening in there. For example, earlier, if somebody used to come and ask me there's a A+ Amazon page, we need to we need to redesign it, we need to revamp it. It used to take me maybe like a week or 10 days to just take up that job, so that once I'm free from doing other jobs, then I can take up that project.
Okay.
Versus now, when anyone used to come to me with a project like that, there was a very concrete timeline that, see, this is a project that I'll be undertaking in another maybe 2 days, and I'll give you a deadline of maybe, say, a week or so, so that we know that we are on the same page.
Okay. I mean, how your day looks like when you were in boat?
During that time, everybody had their designated roles. So, for example, I had a team who was working specifically for the marketing or from a brand side. Then there was another team who was working only on ads. Then there was another team who was working on 3D renders or maybe motion graphics. Then there was a separate team for packaging. So everybody had their designated roles. And for a graphic designer, I would say their KRAs or their KPIs were predefined. Whatever work they are supposed to do, that was supposed to be designated to them, in the starting of the week. Or maybe, starting of the month, or maybe 10, 15 days earlier, something like that, before the launch. So this was quite, I think the process within the design team has been quite systematic and, very concrete. And the projects, the kind of work that the designers were supposed to do, they had everything. They had a fair idea of, what are the specific list of tasks or the projects that I'm supposed to work on during the day. Apart from that, we also used to do a lot of, exercises wherein we used to switch a lot of roles within the teams. So if somebody is not very happy with their current role, if they don't want to be working, sometimes, a designer gets the work that the designer is doing, it gets very monotonous. So I used to make sure that if the work is getting monotonous, I used to give them something else or some other project to work on. And that's how we used to switch, and, we used to make the most out of the current strength. Every designer comes from a very different kind of a background. And each and every designer has their own way of working, their own style. For example, a designer in my team, there were a few people who were very good with minimalistic designs. So I used to give them, product launches. Then there were few who were very good with adaptations. They used to work on ads. Then there were few who were not very good with anything, but they were good with just following the guidelines. They used to work on packaging.
So when you hired people on board as a designer, what were the top 3 things that you used to look into them before hiring them?
So for me, I think there were 2 things that were very important. First is their soft skills, and then other is the technical skills. Technical skills is something that, almost every designer will have, because that's how they have become a designer ultimately. But then there was a very important factor to it, that they should be having some kind of soft skills in place. For example, if I'm hiring a designer, I would want to know that how much ownership they are able to take up for their particular role. So, for example, if I give them a project to work on, and if there's an ad that's supposed to be made for maybe, a headphone kind of ad or something, and if I tell them to put so-and-so copy, they should be able to understand or comprehend that, if I'm putting this copy, it should go very well with the visual. They should not just blindly follow what has been, asked to do, and they should be putting up their brains and taking ownership of their work, that, hey, say, Aditi, I don't think this particular visual will go with the copy. Let me give you another option for this. Or, for example, they might be coming up with some project that I would have previously, aligned to them, and then they come up telling me, hey, Aditi, I guess we forgot to follow up on this. Let's get back to it, and then let's, resume this project, because I think the deadline is coming up. This is what ownership is all about. And I think this is a very important value that I seek in a designer.
So ownership is one.
Ownership is one. Then there's another one, which is, honesty, integrity. Then there's another one, which is a designer should be able to communicate very well with the stakeholder. There are designers, of course, the designers are mostly introverts. And I think for a designer, it's fine to be an introvert, because that's why you're creative. But then you should be able to communicate very well your expectation versus what the other's expectation is.
Yeah, so this is one thing that I would thinking the other day when I was thinking of, designers as such, that most of them are introvert, like most of them, right? And since graphic designing is a very core hard skill, like, and you just told us that soft skills are important.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to, grow in a particular industry. For example, if somebody is not very good at communication, right? But he's like very good at designing things. How did you test these skills?
So, for this purpose, I used to give them a lot of assignments to work on.
Assignments?
Yeah. So whenever I used to take interviews, I used to give them an assignment along with the interview, and once they are done with the assignment, they were being asked to present their assignments. So this is
How
where
many rounds were there when you were hiring?
almost 2 to 3 rounds. One used to be with the HR, then another one used to be with me, and then there was another level which sometimes used to happen, but then we usually used to skip that level, usually with the marketing team or whoever is the stakeholder for that designer. So for every designer, we used to have different stakeholders working with them directly.
Okay.
So once they are done with the assignment, they used to present it, and that's where their communication comes in the picture. That's where I used to see, how are they presenting their assignment? What kind of key factors are there that are inspiring them to work on this kind of a design? I think a person should be able to know that what kind of a communication, what kind of a background that they are choosing, and how they are presenting their particular work.
So Aditi, your journey has been really great. It's been 15 years. But I'm sure there must be mentors in your journey, right? Do you really feel that, that you need guidance, you need mentor at the right time to grow your career?
I think यहाँ पे Aman played a very important role being my mentor. Right from the beginning, there was a time when Aman had, given me a free hand to do whatever I want to do. Like, the best thing that I like about him is he gave me a lot of freedom to, creative freedom plus freedom to hire the team members as per my will. And that's why I was being able to build that kind of a team. So, एक चीज़ अमन ने मुझे बहुत अच्छी सिखाई थी that, everybody cannot be treated with the same medicine. I think the right kind of guidance is very important at that time. So I did that with a few of them, and yes, I could actually identify that what kind of role they would fit in. And there were some people, being designers, they could fit in very well in the managerial roles itself within my team. But for some people who were a little laid back, I would actually give them a stick sometimes, and it used to work. So I think this is a very important lesson that he had taught me, and it has worked very well for me.
How working with Aman was like?
So I'll be honest, Aman's energy is very, very infectious. So he is a kind of a person, if you are kind of, around him, you'll automatically feel very energized and popped up. But I don't think he has ever given me lessons like bithake ki, this is what it's supposed to be, this is how it's supposed to be. Whatever I've learned from him from the way how he is in office, or how he is in particular situation, how he is, whatever things that he's doing. So, for example, I realized that, of course, we are a group of introverts, designers. Even I'm an introvert. And I realized that being an introvert is not a bad thing, but every time being in a comfort zone is also not the right thing. So there has to be very conscious steps that you have to be taking in order to come out of it. That's what I learned from him. So cross-questioning. So anything and everything that's happening, maybe if somebody's presenting something, Aman के ना background में, mind में चलता रहता है कि why this? He always has this question in his mind, why? For everything. So in order to, get an answer to his why, people used to, do a lot of things around him to just, make him understand that, to give him the answer of that why. So that's what I actually learned from him, that, anything and everything that people are doing, there has to be a reason behind it, and you have to keep asking questions. Don't hesitate in asking. Come out of your introvertish world. So
He pushed you out of
he
your comfort
pushed
zone.
me, maybe unknowingly, knowingly, but he actually pushed me a lot in a lot of situations. Also during campaigns, I would say he pushed me a lot to, work directly with marketing people. I think he had, since day one, he's put a lot of trust in me, which enabled me to actually, interact with a lot of people in a very more confident way, I would say. Like I used to align things to my team. I directly used to deal with the stakeholders like NPI, new packaging introduction team, then marketing team, then ads team. So I never had that confidence of, directly talking to them or dealing with them directly for designs and everything. I think maybe his trust in me has given me a lot of that kind of a confidence. So as a manager, I think as a personality, he's that kind of a person that you would actually learn a lot just by sitting beside him.
Great. Yeah, nice. Even when everybody of us, see him on screen, we can see his infectious energy coming out of the screens. And I think that's why for a lot of people, he is, one of their favorite sharks.
Yeah.
Right. That's why he gets that tag because of the energy that he has. Right. And because of the attitude, like, कर लेंगे.
कर लेंगे,
हम
हो
भी तो
जाएगा,
कर लेंगे types,
हम भी बना लेंगे,
हम भी बना लेंगे. So that attitude, I think that works. Yeah. Do you really think that designers are scared in today's world because of Midjourney and other tools?
Yes and no, both.
Okay.
So first of all, what exactly is AI? What is it? Ultimately, it's nothing but it's just a recalculation. It's just a reformation of something that has already been existed. With the help of AI, we can do it in like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But by the end of it, we have to proofread it. हमें उसको proof check करना पड़ता है. हमें उसको देखना पड़ता है if the text is aligned, if the content is in place, if the images are correct or not. That is the job of a human being. I mean, AI cannot do that kind of a job for you. So
it can be used as a tool.
It
but
can be used
obviously
as a
can't.
tool, yeah.
It is not something to be scared of.
So yes, you should. It'll definitely empower you. अब मैं, when I was coming to the studio, I was looking at the hoardings that were there. So I saw this auto. Uske पीछे there was a picture of a woman, and it was written that do you have a elder person at home? Get a cataract surgery now. And that picture was derived out of AI. And I realized that the quality of creatives and the content that people are putting even on small things like an auto or a auto rickshaw or maybe a bus or something, it has scaled up like anything. But then there's a monotony to it. After some time, I believe if everybody will start doing that, it'll create a monotony automatically.
It will ultimately create the same
effect. So I think it has a limitation which can be foreseen, but right now though it's definitely growing.
So do you use some tools, AI tools?
Yes,
or any other tools? What kind of tools you use?
So I use Midjourney. I think that's the most important tool these days, and there are a lot of tools that that are available which are AI driven on these free vector websites also, like Freepik or Shutterstock. So I use a lot of those kind of tools to generate images.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's a very fancy word that has come up on Instagram that everybody gets. It's a creative block.
Yeah.
And a lot of creative people, when asked to deliver things on deadline, they usually say that I'm having a creative block.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that this is something which is like normal? It happens?
So whenever I used to give my team some designers to work on a new project which is beyond their capacity or capability, they used to tell me that, hey, I'm getting a creative block. So I used to tell them, dekho, I understand what that creative block is. Take this direction. Take this inspiration and it'll go off. Don't worry. It's nothing but somewhere, I think, something that has been created in your own mind it's just, I think होता है creative block, but थोड़ा hyped भी है, because somewhere people are just
Using it
casually and making a
just
very
to-
big deal out of it, which it is not.
which it is not. Absolutely, absolutely. I think it happens in every profession, not just
Yeah.
creative one. You need, sometimes you need space,
Yeah.
you know, to give your best. It can be a vacation for somebody. It
Yeah,
can be
yeah.
meditation for few people. It can be chilling out with friends. You just need, I think, a good space
Yeah.
or an inspiration
Correct.
from somewhere to move
You know,
forward.
that's the reason me and my team, we used to sit on the 4th floor of Hoskaska building, wherein we used to have that lake view. So all the designers used to get that lake view just to get creative inspirations. And
Perks of
not
working
get
from Oscars.
yeah, and not get that creative block.
Awesome. Acha yaar, do you still have that self-doubt, or you get like that imposter syndrome that kicks in you within you sometimes? Do you still, does it still happen with
yes,
you?
I do a lot of times. I do. In fact, there are times when I feel that, you know, I can't do it. I can't do anything. But then I think that's the time when you actually make yourself understand ki, you know, this is just temporary. It'll pass away. And that's what I tell myself.
Do you remember any episode where you are having this imposter syndrome and a mentor or somebody actually helped you, guide you through the journey?
Yes, for me, my mentors are my friends, my family. And yes, whenever I get that kind of a syndrome, I talk to a friend, I call up my friend and I talk to them. I think for me, talking works very well, communicating works very well. And whenever that happens, it goes away.
Do you really feel that having a name of a brand in your resume boosts your career?
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay.
But for freshers or for people who are coming out of their colleges, I would say that for the first 2-3 years, they should be working with the agency so that they have experience of working with different brands. So what happens is, whenever you work with one particular brand, your mind, your creativity gets molded into a certain way that it's very difficult for you to come out of that mold. As a designer, for you to be very versatile in the industry, it's important to be able to know that how different industries work. So for example, audio industry or an electronics industry may think very differently from what how FMCG is working from a design perspective, or from how a service or a B2B industry is working. For example, in boAt, we also used to have a lot of we just didn't work on audio products or audio as a brand. We also worked on personal grooming. We worked on gaming. So, and for every marketing or for every brand campaign that we did, we used to have a very different creative perspective. So it was not just audio or not very concrete design language that we were speaking.
How did you get your first client, by the way, after starting your own agency?
So I started working for one of my clients just after I put my papers in boAt. So at that time, I don't know, by grace of God or by some good luck that I had, I immediately got a project, and there was not even a day that I had to be sitting idle. So although I knew them from somewhere before, and that's how we started working, but then I guess I was able to kind of give them the results and deliver them the creatives, whatever they liked, within the time span of 1 or 2 months.
Okay.
And that's how we started with.
Who is your the biggest client that you have worked with so far?
So there are a few clients that I've worked with. Like I've worked with Vijay Sales, I've worked for Swiss Military, I've worked for Nasher Miles. It was very recent.
Amazing.
And then I've worked for Fresh Leaf also.
And how did you reach these brands? I mean, did networking help? Your past experience helped? Exactly what was the journey when you reached these people?
Till now, nothing has worked apart from networking for me.
Networking
So you should be able to have a very, very strong network in order to be able to take projects. So clients only trust you when you are within their network. If you're not within their network, they will not trust you as a designer, because see, इतना competition है ना इस market में. If you put a project on LinkedIn telling, see, you need a designer for this so and so project, you will get more than 100 people commenting on that post that we are interested in working with you. So I think it's very important for any designer, at least for the initial stages of their career, to be able to build that kind of network in order to get into an agency mode. If you're just freshly out of college and you think of starting an agency, you won't be able to, because you don't have that kind of a network system. So I think here network plays a very important role. For me, at least, they have.
And how did you create that? Did you go to events? Were you doing personal branding?
No, they were all
somewhere?
professional network for me.
Okay.
Personal or professional network. So most of the clients that I've been working with, I got them through my professional network, or through one or two through my personal network as well. But then yes, having said that, I have been into some social networking events also, wherein it has helped me a lot to build that kind of build connects with that kind of people who can help me in my business, not from a client perspective but from other perspective. For example, I've known a lot of agency owners now, and I look up to them whenever I get stuck. I take their help for some kind of mentorship or some kind of guidance. So that has really helped me a lot.
Great. Networking, I think, is one of a very good skill if somebody has. They can grow immensely, and I think it will help you grow even faster than you think. Directly or indirectly, designers actually play a very big role in the revenue of the organization. I mean, it is not exactly sales, but your visuals, your creativity drives revenue for the organization. So do you really feel so, or is it just me who are overhyping the designers?
No, I think it does play a very important role for some creatives or some segments or divisions. There are creatives that are actually, they serve like a bread and butter for the brand. So for example, if you see the last point of sale creatives जो होते हैं हमारे Amazon, Flipkart के images, those are the final images that a customer actually sees and takes a decision to finally buy or not buy the product. So those are decision maker kind of images that we say. So I remember there was an instance when I had very recently joined board. The marketing team came up with a challenge that, see, this is a product packaging that we have, and we don't really have budget to make it fancier or look good.
Okay.
So the ball game is all about design now. And you have to do something different. You have to do something that will attract attention of 15, 20, 25 age group of people. And it has to look very, very quirky at the same time.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, I did a little bit of brainstorming with my team, and then we came up with the idea of very quirky kind of a black and white sort of a doodle illustration. And over that, we came up with an idea of writing eargasm in the box. And that got so popular that people actually, and there was no picture of whatever's there inside the box. There was no picture of the headphone or anything. And it got so popular, people actually bought it to see what's there inside the box.
Perfect.
And I think it was a very good culmination of marketing and design kind of.
And what do you think of the Jaguar logo that has recently come up? Do you like it?
From a viewer perspective, I really like the old logo, very honestly.
Same.
I'm not very sure how well this might work for them, but yes, I just love the boldness, the passion that was there. Some kind of passion hidden inside that logo, which I don't see it in the current logo. And I know they're getting a lot of critics, so I don't want to be one of them. Because
I think that was actually showed their larger than life.
Yeah.
It actually communicated well.
It communicated well, yeah. Yeah.
Great, yeah, great. Acha, since you have moved on towards a new journey of agency, right? And you have been the designer all your life, all your profession. There's one challenge that every designer faces. That one last minute change. How many those last minute changes have you gotten?
A lot of them, especially the beginning of my career. So this happens typically when you don't really understand the client, what they want, or the client doesn't really understand how a designer works. So in my case, what I used to do was I used to rename the file as final. You must have seen it in memes these days a lot, that a designer renames a file as final, final 1, 2, 3, 4, final, 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 such may, final, all done. And then finally the files get, it gets mixed, and then they get confused, and it leads to a chaos.
It still happens with you?
It still happens with me, but yes, not the frequency is not that like as much as it used to be before. But initially, I had, especially while working with agencies, because there are people who are working in middle of you and the client. You don't really get a feedback directly from the client. So a lot of times there has been instances where I have not been able to crack what the client is thinking and what they do actually want. So I've ended up making almost 400 options of a logo and not getting approved even a single one.
Single one. Acha, since you are moving towards this agency thing, tell me something about what exactly this agency is. How did you take this bold decision of moving from a very safe, secular, place of working, and now towards this, which is a place which is full of uncertainty?
See, I worked with agencies, I worked with corporates, I worked with brands. I think, to some extent, I had taken all kind of right skill sets and, the kind of people's person you want to be, all the kinds of right qualities that I wanted to take from all of these kind of, setups. But in the end, for the past few years, I have been having this ever-growing curiosity to move out of my domain and do something where I have a more control over things around me. But while working for a brand, you can't really have that privilege of doing that. So that inculcated a feeling of owning an agency, and since the beginning itself, I knew that somewhere or the other, at some point of time in life, in my career, I'll land up doing this. Because I like having control over my things, and I like doing things a little freely. Since I've had, the leadership qualities now from both, I have had, people's or team leading qualities. I've had soft skills. I've taken designing skills, or how to read somebody's mind when they are trying to communicate something. I think this is kind of enough to begin with starting with an agency.
Awesome. And what's the name of the agency?
It's called Knowingly.
Knowingly.
Yeah.
Very unique name. How did you reach to this name?
So there's again a story behind this brand. So before I started thinking of a brand name for my studio, I thought of a few names. But then there was this thought behind that there's a very big gap between what exactly a client is asking for and what exactly a design or an agency is delivering. And that gap is being created because there's maybe not enough research behind what exactly a client is wanting and what is, helping them reach their customers or the target audiences. So this was the whole idea behind creating a brand called Knowingly, where knowing or the power of knowing is very important.
Perfect. You have communicated your intention very well.
Yeah.
Even with the name. So congratulations and all the very
much.
best for the journey ahead. Since we are almost at the end of our conversation, I would love to have a very small, very fun segment with you, where I would love to know your opinion, your take on all the viral concepts on social media currently, runs around the working culture, obviously. Okay? So let me just have my phone. Thank you. There is one thing that has been all over the social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, about something that Narayan Murthy sir has recently quoted, that he actually believes in 80-hour, 70-hour work week, right? He doesn't believe in work-life balance, right? And you have worked in corporate, you have worked in startup. What's your take on that?
So I have kind of a very different opinion here because for me, it's the only thing that matters being a mother of an 8-year-old. Work-life balance is everything for me right now, to be able to survive and to be able to be creative for that matter. But yes, there has been instances when we have actually worked like crazy during, especially during IPL campaigns. We had, partnerships with almost 6 teams at the same time. And what we used to do was, we used to work day and night, and we used to work like crazy especially during BBD sales or big billion days sales Flipkart ka. Then there used to be Prime sales on Amazon. We used to have these gaddas in office. And हम लोग रात को वहीं पे टाइम स्पेंड करते थे, and we used to track sales की कितना हो रहा है, and if there's anything that is that needs to be altered, we used to do it then and there. And the team used to spend the night in office on the gaddas while watching the IPL or tracking big billion days sales.
Yeah, I think startup की ना ये बहुत अच्छी बात है.
Yeah.
है ना, मतलब कॉर्पोरेट में काम कर लें, वो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस ठीक है, बट आई थिंक इन द इनिशियल डेज ऑफ योर करियर दिस हसल
is very important. I
think it builds your personality also.
Yeah. It builds your personality. It gives you a feeling of ownership that this brand is yours. I mean, you're just not working for an employer. This is something that you're working for yourself. And that's the feeling जो मुझे पहली बार आया है बोट में रह के. And I've actually felt that feeling of ownership, or that feeling of something that this is something of my own and I have to take care of.
So are you willing to work 70 or 80 hours a week?
Of course, if there's ownership, if there's that feeling inside me, I don't mind. See, this is something very personal to me now. I have my own brand. If there's a client who needs something within very, undesirable kind of a timeline, I give them, because this is my work, and for me, work is everything. I do it. I'll do an overnight for them. I'll give it to them if that's
perfect.
In the end.
So
if that's
if your work is your passion, you don't count times.
I don't.
You don't walk around the clock. You don't see if perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. And one more. Let's go towards one more. Acha, there was one controversy that happened with Zomato, that Dipender Goyal actually posted on social media that he is looking for a chief of staff, and he rather than paying that person, he wants that person to give 20 lakh rupees. 20 lakh was the thing, I think.
Something like that.
So 20 lakh rupees to the organization, and the वो NGO का पूरा scene था.
I think nobody would do that for sure. But yes, it's a beautiful way of marketing your brand and letting people talk about your brand, about something. So it's a beautiful trend, and I think these trends are going really viral these days because of the fact that they are very different. So any kind of publicity is publicity, whether it is negative or positive. In the end, it is making you more popular. That's what I feel, that I think having people talk about you is more important than whatever they are talking about.
Awesome. And one last controversy that recently happened with a brand called Yes Madam, that they actually floated the information that they have fired so many people, the layoff thing, and eventually they said that it was a prank. It was not the intentional thing, and actually it blew up.
It blew up very bad.
It blew up very bad. They actually got very criticized for what they have done.
I think they tried to copy Zomato, but they couldn't do it because.
But copy करो, but
अक्ल से करो. नकल के लिए भी अक्ल चाहिए होती है ना. So I think it blew it off. It was. I didn't think it created that much impact. The way Dipender Goyal wala PR stunt, it created a big impact because it was coming straight from the brand, from the owner. Of people know who Dipender Goyal is, but I think this got blew up because of obvious reasons, and I don't think this is something that should be done.
Chalo. Anyway, sir, thank you so much, Aditi. Thank you so very much. It has been a fun conversation. I actually learned a lot of things, that how you worked in Boat, how was your journey as a freelancer, then a startup, then corporate, and then your own agency, how it actually you took a very, very great path, and I would love to congratulate you, because everybody doesn't have that guts, I would say, to drop a safe job and then taking on their own journey, because it involves a risk. And the stage that you are, I think, with the responsibility of an 8-year-old, and then have all the qualities of being a very good employee, very good manager. Now you're starting your own, so I think it will be a win-win-win, and
hope so.
you will be a successful agency owner for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.